Hi friends, welcome back to Arc Tutorials. This is Angular 10 full tutorial series for absolute beginners. In today's episode, we are going to learn about very important topic about routing, which is parameterizing routes. How do you parameterize routes, right? Which means how do you pass some data attributes via routes? How do you pass dynamic data via routes, right? So those are all called parameterized routes. We'll learn all about it in today's episode. Welcome back friends. This is part 42 of the Angular 10 complete tutorial playlist. I have planned around 100 tutorials for you in this series. I am updating the description box below with the video links as well as with the GitHub link which has all the notes and the code. So make sure you check it out and following are the topics that I've covered so far, and I'm sure that if you really want to learn and master Angular, these are the tutorials that you should go through thoroughly. And if you have any doubts, please ask me in the comments section below. I will be more than happy to help you. Today we are learning about parameterizing routes. Let's get started. Alright, so what do you mean by parameterizing routes, right? So it means that we can configure and send some parameters to our routes, right? Those are visible in the URL, right? Those are visible in the URL. Like for example, if you see here, product/10, product/10/20, right? So this means that we are parameterizing and sending a dynamic value, right? And here the dynamic value is 10, 20 like that, right? So these are the dynamic values. Now you can send data of any type. It can be an integer, it can be a string, um, any type basically, right? And then we have to capture these values and read them in our component class to process them further, right? For example, if you say show me a user with say user/id xyz something, right? So you have to go capture that data and then process to get the user's information. That's how real-time applications work. So let's get started and do some hands-on to learn how it is actually done in applications. All right. All right, let's get started. And again, if you have any doubts, I always encourage you to please reach out to me in comment section. I'll be more than happy to help you. So today we are parameterized routes, sometimes also called as dynamic routes, etc. So if you hear any of these words, right, you know what they mean, right? It means that they are talking about the parameterized routes. All right, let's get started. So like I said, it can be of any um, what do you call it, any data type basically, right? So you can have any data type that needs to be passed, and usually it would look like this. So we can send data slash dynamic data or parameters, right? Okay, so we can send dynamic or parameterized data through URLs. The URLs will look something like this. Not exactly, depending upon your application, but it would look something like this. Now, if you are say if you are doing something like say user/10, this means get the user with ID as 10, right? I can say localhost com/search/ I will say Karnataka / Bangalore. So here I am passing two parameters. One is state and city, right? KA means Karnataka, Bangalore means Bangalore, right? And then you can pass something like this, localhost.com/user/10/photos/10/44, right? So what does this mean, right? So here I have two parameters, 10 and 34. I'm saying user ID is equal to 10 and photo ID, that photo ID is equal to 34. So how you can read this? You can say get me the user number 10, find his photos, and in that get me the photo number 34, right? So you see these are the dynamic parameters, right? That's why they are called parameterized routes, right? I hope you are clear now with the concept, And let's get started now and configure how actually you can do that. But let me first show you the problem and then I'll give you the solution, right? So go to routing, right? So let's say you have so I'm going to create few products, right? Again, these are just junk test quick ones. So I'm saying product 1. So I'm saying product 1, right? Ng generate, what happened? More than one module matches. Use the skipped import option to choose. Okay, unknown option. Okay, so here I'm going to say module equal to app. Okay, so it created a component. Don't worry about anything else. Stay focused on what we are learning now. So I'm going to show you the problem first and why we need dynamic routes, and then we will go into creating solution of it. All right, so let's say we don't have the parameterized routes. Let's delete this. I'm going to show you from scratch. Okay, so this is how it looks, right? Let's delete all the unnecessary things that we don't need at this point of time. Alrighty, so I'm saying now my requirement is I need to capture the and show the products dynamically. So this is what I will end up doing if I don't do dynamic parameters. I'll say product slash 1, and here I'll say p1 component, right? So I'm saying my path is product slash 1 and it should go to p1 component. Very cool. Now I will do 2. Now I will say 2, and here I'm going to say p2 component. Very cool. Now let's run it and see what happens. So it's already compiled, it's running. So here I'm going to say product 1. What's the path? Product slash 1. Product slash 1. What just happened? Routes. Let's just restart once. While it is building, if you like the tutorial, please do hit the like button. Of course, I don't do like others. I don't do polishing of work. I present my work honestly. That's why sometimes I do make mistake, and that's how you should see programming as. You cannot do one shot correct. All right, that kept aside. So here we have our application compiled. We have our app. Now I'm saying product slash 1. So now you see product slash 1 points to p1 works, right? Which is what is our product 1. Now if you say product 2, it says p2 works, which is our product component 2. But think about the case where you have large and many dynamic URLs, dynamic values slash components, right? Think about it like a amazon.com or say flipkart.com, right? Where you have millions and millions of products. You cannot put routes for them, right? So what it needs to do is it needs to be dynamic in nature, right? So this example I gave you because I want you to know that how it can be, how what is the problem, right? Otherwise, if you see, we need component for each. So now what we'll do, we will have only one component, and let's create that component, and I'm going to call that component. Here I'm going to call them just product. I hope it's already not there. Yep. So now see, I will delete p1 and p2. I don't need them. Okay, so let's delete p1 and delete p2, remove it from all the instances wherever we have it. Here also remove it. Okay, just check in the module if it's there. It's there, I think. I see errors. Yep. Alright, if it's here, it means there will be instances. Alrighty, perfect. So now let's go back to our routing. So now our routing is back to 0. which is empty. Now we are going to write dynamic routes. So we will say whenever the path is, right? Now see here very carefully. There are some basic things that you should know. Okay. So there should be whenever whatever, like if I have to rewrite the previous one, I will write product slash, right, colon ID. Now here Angular, whenever you pass colon ID, Angular will understand that it's a dynamic value you're passing. So I'm going to write a generic component which we created, which is product component, right? Now go to your product component in the component.ts, right? We can capture that value and display it. Let me show you first how. So here now you say product slash 10, it still says product works because this is dynamic value. Now make it some value, it will still work because this is a dynamic value. Now how do we capture it, how do we show it, right? So that is what I'm going to show you now. So pay very close attention to this because a lot of you will make mistake here, right? So remember two things. One, in the app routing you need to write colon, right? You need to write colon while writing dynamic URL slash parameters. uh, Make sure you write colon, right, for dynamic data to be captured. That's a very important rule. A lot of people make mistake in here. So this is the dynamic value and you're telling it will go into the component product component. So now let's go to product component.ts file, right? Now here there is something, there is a, we need to work with a class, right? And it needs to be we need to use something called activated route. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. It's available in Angular router, so we need to import it. So it's available in Angular router, so import that, right? So this is a class that we need to use. Now since it's a class, what we need to do, we need to create a instance, right? And what is an instance? It's nothing but you will inject it into your constructor like this. And the best way is always to use the small one, right? So it's always camel case here, so use a small one. So I have imported a class called activated route from Angular router. I have injected that in my constructor. That is, injected is nothing but creating an instance of it. So this is a class. I'm injecting it here and I'm creating an instance which is activated route. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this, okay, and subscribe to it. Okay, so we will say this dot, right, activated route dot. Now see, I'm trying to process the, I'm going to get the params dot subscribe, right? Now this is where I will get the data, right? So how do you get the data? So you'll get something like this. So you can say using arrow operator. Now I know some of you may find this little tricky, but please stay with me, stay along the course, you will get it. I will make sure that you will understand, but just give me some time. If you don't understand something, we will go step by step again on this. So what I've done is import the activated route class. Okay, create an object in constructor, right? Create an object. Now you have used that object right here and you are saying this dot, this refers to this particular instance, right? So this is where we have created, it is of type activated route. Now this dot activated route dot params, that means we are capturing the params and we have subscribed and getting the params, right? And I'm just doing a console log, nothing more than that. Now let me show you the output, what it happens. So here you see I passed a value, go to inspect element, go to console, you will see this value which says id is equal to 45645 something, right? Because this is the id that we configured in our route. Now a lot of people say why we need ID, right? You put any name you want, right? You can put any name you want, it will capture that name only here. So you can put state, city, ID, photo, anything you want. Okay. Now let's take it to next level. Now I'm saying there can be one more path, and here I'm saying now this can have product slash ID slash photos slash colon photo ID. Now here I will say product ID. Give some meaningful ones, right? So now see I'm creating one more path, and now I'm saying product slash product ID photos slash photo ID. Okay, so let's use this route and see what will be our output. Right, so here you change the product ID and I'm going to make it some number. For photo ID again I'm going to make some number. Okay, uh, clear? Now let's hit enter. So now you see it is showing photo ID and product ID, right? So this is your product ID, this is your photo ID, product ID, this is your photo ID. Okay, simple. Now how do we display it in the UI? That's the question, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create two variables inside this, right? So here I'm going to say photo ID, right, is equal to initial value is 0, and I'm saying product ID is equal to 0 initially, and in the HTML I'm going to details captured from route dynamic params. Again, this is something extra work that I'm doing, but you don't have to. Alright, so photo ID, and you have product ID. Okay, so we will use interpolation. And now what is interpolation? Please do check the previous episodes. I have covered in detail again that also for you. You do not want to miss that. Okay, so we are saying photo ID and product ID. So let's see that. So here I have, right, so we have photo ID. So it says photo ID is 0, product ID is 0. Why? Let's see. Uh, Here photo ID is 0 because we have not assigned it, right? So what I'm going to do is here I'm going to say photo ID is equal to this dot params dot um, params dot photo ID. Now it will say that it is not of type, does not exist. Property params does not exist. Okay, so let's do one thing. Console.log params, it's here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it in a variable. I'm going to say enter value equal to params. Okay, and what I'm going to do is photo ID is equal to value dot photo ID. So I am assigning this value, this variable, a value from the inter value which is params, right? And similarly I'm going to assign one more value which is of product ID from product ID. Let's see this here. So now see 8989435, whichever is here. Now change it here. I'm going to make 222, and here I'm going to make 777 and hit enter. So now you see this is all dynamic. I can create anything I want, right? So that's the beauty of it. Let me show you one last time. 98, 98, 98, and product ID will be 333. So photo ID is this and product ID is 333, right? So that way we can create any number of dynamic params params in our URLs, right? And that is the one of the most common uh, use cases that you would work in any real-time application. Okay, give it a try. Let me know if you have any doubts. I'm right here to help you. If you like my tutorial, if you like my work, please do consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/arctutorials. I welcome your queries, your doubts. Drop me a note in comment section. I will try and help you as much as I can. In the next episode, we will learn about router link. Very, very important concept, especially when you are going to link the data in your UI screens. Extremely important. So make sure you join me in the next episode. We'll start iterations and we'll soon begin our live application. Thanks again for joining. See you in the next episode.